whirlwind began one day as I decided to go to Dunkin' Donuts one morning just to, have myself some coffee and food. You know, I didn't have any work to do, I was pretty tired, so I figured, might as well spend a few hours here. So that I did. I was sitting at the table, ready to enjoy a couple muffins, when suddenly, I heard the sound of clacking metal, and then a strange, weird, tall skeleton man stepped through the door, and went to the counter, and tried ordering something, but I couldn't make out what he was saying because everything he said was in mumble. And so, the guy behind the counter got pretty upset, and he says, "We can't have walking skeletons here, it'll be bad for business. Now why don't you go? Be a part of some generic video game." I was like, the skeleton kind of sulked and started mumbling again, and then the man behind the counter called security, so then he just decided to walk out. Like, I was a little saddened to see this go down the way it did, so as the skeleton walked out, I went out with him, with my food, and I just said, "Hey, I'm sorry that happened, are you okay?" The skeleton says, and I said, "What?" And he just says, and I was like, "Yeah, what a jerk." But, do you want... I kind of unwillingly offered one of my muffins. He grinned wildly, and then he just took the muffin and, since having no lower jaw, he like smashed it into his face, getting crumbs all over the place. It was kind of disgusting, but at least he was happy. So anyways, after a while I kind of picked up on what he could say to me, and so he mumbled, "You're the M Crew dude." And I said, "Yeah, who are you?" From what I understand, he was Sir Daniel Fortesque from the Knights. "Yeah, oh yeah, I remember you," I said. You were from a PlayStation 1 era game, MediEvil, I believe?" And he goes, "Yes, MediEvil." And I said, "How'd that go? I heard that was like, your biggest run." He goes, "Well, it was the most successful, but, unfortunately, nobody remembers me." And I said, "Oh, that's a shame. I met a few other people who've gone through that same problem, but, I don't know. So once you're forgotten, maybe you should try to move on, and then, other people will, might give respect, and, who knows, your autographs will be worth $1 million someday." He chuckled and says, "Well, after the first MediEvil game, I was really excited. Things were going pretty well for me at the time. So then I decided to sign on for MediEvil 2. And I said, 'There was a sequel?' And he says, 'My point exactly. Nobody even remembers it.' But then, it's like, after that, there was a huge dormant state for me. I couldn't really do anything. Well, there were no new games I could be a part of, so I just kind of slept in my coffin for several years. That wasn't until like not too long ago I decided to do something better. I heard they were filming The Nightmare Before Christmas, so I decided to get in on the action. I heard it was about skeletons, and I figured what better way to advertise myself. I was able to get in because trust me, being friends with Tim Burton is not that difficult when you're a skeleton. So then, I was Jack's stunt double for a few scenes. Yeah, the scene where he lost his jaw, I just felt they were making fun of me for. So after the movie, it was very successful, but then I look back and I realized that it wasn't the same. Tim Burton admired my games, but still, I just felt that I could be doing something better. I didn't really appreciate them not even giving me a credit. So, afterwards I kind of drifted around. I decided to head back to Gallowmere, when then, a few years past that, I got a call for a MediEvil Resurrection on PSP, and I said, "Now that I have heard of." And he says, "Well, did you like it?" And I said, "Yeah," obviously lying, and he goes, "Well, still people say I'm clumsy as ever, like I'm wearing 2 left feet." And I said, "Oh, well, 2 decomposed feet," and he goes, "That's even worse. But I'm sorry, I just don't see myself, really coming back." And I said, "You were in PlayStation All-Stars, that's a huge accomplishment." And he goes, "I was, but will I ever see another game?" And he goes, "Well, unfortunately, I wouldn't get my hopes up. I mean, I'm sorry that you didn't really, get too far in your legacy, but all I can say here is that if you move on, it'd be the best thing that you can do. People will still remember your games as good nostalgia classics, like several others from the era." And he says, "Well, thank you. Tell me, do you have a car?" And I said, I'm not sure about getting behind the wheel with a stranger. He goes, Dad, don't worry, it'll be cool. So then he, well, actually he didn't say cool, he said, he said, kind sir. Anyways, so I drove him down to this little game store that he's familiar with. We walked inside. People were a little confused seeing me walk around with a 7-foot skeleton, but whatever. So then he decided to buy me medieval games himself. And then we went home. He was explaining to me. He went on about these big stories about how he battled the evil sorcerers, the wizards, and trolls. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that bad. Yeah, man, the games were pretty good actually. Not too bad. I mean, if you get to pick them up, I would suggest picking them up. So finally, after a long day, he just picked himself up, thanked me for spending time with him, and then he just trotted off, and then I never saw him again. But I do believe that he went back to sleeping in his coffin. That is until one day he's called in for more work, or to just be more product endorsement for PlayStation. Come across a lot of strange people in my travels. Come across a lot of unusual things. So I come across a lot of unusual things from the people in my travels, and that's the truth of the matter.